Good evening, everyone. I would like to welcome the members of council, staff, and members of the public to discuss the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and call this meeting to order. I just wanted to mention too, I'll go through some of these property details in case you haven't read them. It's an amendment application submitted on February 29th, 2024 by Mr. Ray Dobbin Engineering, Inc., agent for BDM Developments, Petrolia, Inc., known municipality as Plan 6, lots 54 to 57, concession 10 West, part lot 15, registered plan 25R7608, part 1. The owner is BDM Developments. The agent is Ray Dobbin Engineering. And the municipality is basically the west part of lot 15, concession 10, plan 6, lots 54 to 57, concession 10 west, part lot 15, registered plan 25R7608, part 1. I just wanted to mention this is a public information session held for the purpose of public engagement under the Planning Act with the public, council, and staff. During a public information session, no member discusses or otherwise deals with any matter in any way that materially advances the business or decision-making of the council. At this time, I'd like to ask Mrs. Pearson for the land acknowledgement, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. We acknowledge that this land on which we are gathered today is part of the ancestral land of the Chippewa, the Ottawa, and the Potawatomi peoples, referred to collectively as the Anishtabeg. The town of Petrolia is located on the lands associated with the Huron Tract Treaty number 29 of 1827. We express gratitude for the land where we live, work, and play, and we are committed to working respectfully with the land and the Indigenous peoples who have called this land home.
Thank you, Mrs. Pearson. I will go through the purpose of the meeting, and the planner will add to this later on. The purpose of this meeting is to afford the public an opportunity under the Planning Act to receive information relating to the proposed amendments of the Town of Petrolia zoning bylaw and provide input to town council staff in relation to the proposed. To amend the zoning's bylaw 63 of 2017 as it applies to part of a property described as West Part Lot 15, Concession 10. The subject property is generally located east of 4th Street and south of 3rd Street. The intent of the proposed amendment is to rezone the larger part of the property shown in the key map below from residential 1 with a holding provision R1H to a site-specific residential 1 in brackets 8 zone with a holding provision R1-8 and again H in brackets. The proposed amendment will allow the lots in a proposed plan of subdivision to have a minimum frontage of 12 meters. And again, this meeting is specific to the application noted above. Any comments you wish to submit in relation to a draft plan, subdivision agreement, or other item not related to the above application shall not be done when appropriate to the specific application. So it will be at a later time. Submissions off topic not in relation to this proposed application shall not be brought forward tonight. At this time, I'd like to introduce the council. On your right is Councillor Hyatt. Next is Councillor Patel, Deputy Mayor Field. Over here further is Councillor Clark, Councillor O'Hara. And I'll ask the clerk, Mrs. Pearson, to introduce staff present, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'll actually start at the rear of our auditorium. We have our Chief Building Official and Acting Manager of Planning, Corinne Nada, our Senior Planner, Trevor Benjamins. Then I will come around the corner. We have our Senior Planner presenting this evening, Maria. Last time I'll have to say this is Cosa Rosie. It caught me off guard. Maria is headed to a different municipality. She'll still be with Lambton, but they caught me off guard to say that for the last time. And our Deputy Clerk, Jess Smith. Then continuing on is our CAO and Treasurer, Rick Charlebois, our Director of Operations, Mr. Mike Thompson, our Director of Parks, Recreation and Facilities, Ms. Julie Bullock, and our Fire Chief and Director of Protective Services, Chief Rick Cousins, and I am your clerk, Mandy Pearson.
Thank you, Mrs. Pearson. Well done. At this time, I'd like to ask the clerk or Mrs. Pearson regarding the notice for this meeting, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. So on March 20th and 27, a physical ad appeared in the Petrolia Independent. An email and mail to all required agencies was circulated on March 19th of 2024. The website and public notice were posted for public viewing March 19th, 2024, and the traditional mail to all the surrounding properties of the notice occurred and was mailed on March 19th, 2024, therefore satisfying all requirements under the Planning Act.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Pearson. At this time, I'd like to ask Mrs. Marie Casarosi to come forward, please, and maybe I'll even ask her to introduce her the new planner again, if you wouldn't mind, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. So the new senior planner for the town of Petrolia is Trevor Benjamins. If you want to stand up, Trevor, and everyone can say hello.
Good, welcome, thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. If you don't mind putting that one up for me. Perfect. Good evening, members of council, staff, applicant, and members of the public. As indicated in Mayor Loosely's introduction, the application under consideration this evening is a site-specific rezoning request to rezone a portion of the subject lands located east of First Avenue and south of 6th Street to permit the reduction in the minimum lot frontage from 15 meters to 12 meters for single detached dwelling development in a future plan of subdivision. The map on the screen is more clearly showing the specific lands in question. The current zoning on the larger piece that is hatched is the residential one with the holding provision, and the other two pieces, one is the residential 3 with the exception 7, and there is already a residential 1 with the exception 8 for 2 lots. And those 2 lots are for single detached development as well with 12-meter frontages. Those 2 other areas not under consideration this evening were previously approved in 2022. The balance of the regulations in the R1 zone for this application are to retain the holding provision, which is to be removed only upon the granting of draft approval of a plan of subdivision. Next slide, please. Thank you. The proposed development, as noted in the preliminary concept plan up on the screen, for the proposed site-specific exception 8 to residential 1 with the holding symbol includes proposed 116 single detached dwellings with 12-meter frontages. The applicant stated that the request for the reduction in lot frontage is due to recent market conditions and rising construction costs, but also because the applicant would like to create smaller and less expensive lots that will cost less for the potential purchaser. The concept plan also shows, as indicated previously, the areas that were rezoned back in 2022. So the most northeastern portion, that is currently zoned for 75 townhomes and also 8 semi-detached dwellings. And then there's a small piece that sort of squares off the top of the one portion of the land that's being rezoned for those 2 other single detached lots. So it's important to note that the concept plan is included for illustrative purposes only and is preliminary. Only the rezoning is under review with this application this evening. Orderly development and compatibility will be further addressed through the plan of subdivision process, where the final layout, servicing requirements, roads, parkland, and overall development will be reviewed through that process, only if the zoning bylaw amendment is approved. The recommendation from staff is that the approval of the zoning bylaw amendment application be approved. The amendment should retain the holding provision to be removed upon the granting the draft approval of plan of subdivision. The proposed reduction in minimum lot frontage for future single detached development has planning merit because it is consistent with the provincial policy statement, county and town official plans, and meets the general intent of the zoning bylaw. Right now, I'm going to review some of those policies and regulations that I've referred to, and I'll start with the provincial policy statement. So the provincial policy statement encourages a new residential development to locate within existing settlement areas adjacent to existing built-up areas that should be serviced by full municipal services. It also requires the provision of a range, mix, and densities of housing options, including new development and intensification, that meets the needs of present and future residents. Through efficient development patterns that optimize the use of land, resources, public investment, and infrastructure and public services, service facilities is also encouraged. The county and town official plan policies designate the land's urban center, and that's in the county official plan. The town of Petrolia official plan designates the land's residential. The area where, and this is the area where most growth is to be located, and development and implementation of flexible municipal zoning provisions to permit the intensification of housing and the mix and range of housing options is also encouraged through these policies. The rezoning will allow an existing vacant lot to be developed in an existing residential area where varying ranges and mixes of housing options are provided, with other similar future plans of subdivisions anticipated. It makes efficient use of existing services and community facilities. Creation of higher densities is compatible with the existing character and pattern of the surrounding development. Subject property is surrounded by predominantly single detached dwellings, some of which already have 12-meter frontages. The proposed single detached dwelling units will also provide potential purchasers with housing options that may be more affordable and will make efficient use of, again, the existing services and community facilities. The balance of the subject property, as indicated, is zoned for more medium to higher density development. So the inclusion of these single detached with the reduced lot frontages does provide for a range of housing in that area. The next. So up on the screen is the zoning map. There are several lots along the east side of 4th Street and along the south side of 6th Street that already allow for a minimum frontage of 12 meters. And then I'll speak about some other areas as well. Permitting the reduction in the lot frontage combined with compliance with the balance of the residential 1 zone requirements will result in the development that is similar in character to the existing properties. No negative impacts to existing surrounding residential uses are anticipated at this time. So we've already spoken about the R1-4, which is the abutting properties, the abutting north of the property, south of 6th and east of 4th, where those properties are already have a 12-meter frontage. Then in terms of on this specific site, it's already proposed for additional 75 townhouse units and 8 semi-detached. Then along west of First Avenue and north of Fairway Court, there it's also zoned residential 1 with exception 4, and those are on 12-meter frontages as well. And then on the Fairway Court, it's zoned R3 with the exception 2, and townhouse dwellings with 6-meter frontages are permitted in that area. In terms of circulation, application has been circulated at Enbridge, and the Conservation Authority commented with no concerns. However, Conservation Authority has indicated that written permission is required for them for any stormwater management facilities outletting to a water course that's regulated by them. No other comments were received at the time of writing the report. And to conclude, planning staff recommends the approval of the zoning bylaw amendment for the reasons stated And that would be due to its consistency with the policies and regulations that are currently in place. And with the proviso or the condition that the holding provision be retained on the lot. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mrs. Casarosi. I think at this time I'll ask the clerk if we have any written correspondence regarding this public meeting.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. So we do have one item of written correspondence that was received into my office. It was received from Gary and Linda Mader, and I will go ahead and read that correspondence. So, Honorable Mayor, councillors, and residents of Petrolia, we are still concerned that the situation of approximately 25 to 28 abandoned oil wells are on this 10 acres of property that it has not been dealt with. We think that before our town council would pass any rezoning of any property in the town of Petrolia, the developer and builder would be required to present the council with documentation of proof that there is no oil wells past or present on property that has not been plugged. Our council passes this new rezoning that the frontage of a lot can only be 36 feet, 12 meters wide. It is quite likely or possible that the building will go over any unplugged oil well. We are highly opposed to this bylaw amendment. We have been in touch with the Ministry of Natural Resources, the Petroleum Division, and will continue on with this quest. We do request to be notified of all results and all proceedings and any passing of any amendments pertaining to the parcels of the land known as the West Part Lot 15 Concession 10 owned by BDM.
Thank you, Mrs. Pearson. I will just advise everyone present, we're just here to speak about the rezoning. Things like in any development, as part of the draft plan, they have to plug all the wells. They have to do that. But I'll leave it at that. I just wanted, at this time, I'll open it up to the public for anyone wishing to speak regarding the zoning bylaw amendment. Is there anyone that would like to speak regarding that? Okay, yes, please come forward. State your name and address, please, for the record.
Hi, Allison Mavis, 434 4th Street, and I spoke before last time when we were talking about the other parcel. So I just want, I know that you did a great job of explaining, but I just want to reiterate that the difference if from an R1-H is a frontage of 15 meters, and they want to change it to R1-H-8H, a difference for 12 meters, which is the same as what is already on 6th Street. Correct? Most are part of 6th Street. I'm going to bring back to what I said before at the last time, that years ago, the town spent thousands of dollars on a water survey, and at that time, that was based on what this area was zoned for at that time. And last time when we discussed the other property and changing the bylaw, or the zoning, requested from how is that going to affect the water? And I was told at that time that when the developer makes a plan, that they will have to take into consideration the water and whatnot. And I just wanted on record again that me and many other residents there are very concerned about how the water drainage is going to be, because the plan that was put in place for water drainage was based on different zoning. So we just want that on record that we're very concerned about that. And from my understanding, last time I was assured that that would all be taken care of during the planning phase, not this, but this changing of how many houses are on there, changing of how much of the land is covered by houses, because more houses means more parking, means more roads. Changing all that significantly changes how the water drainage is going to be in place compared to what the water survey that was the town spent, I believe it was $30,000 on before. So I just want that all on record.
Okay, again, this is just about the rezoning.
I understand.
Just so you're aware of that.
But it does make
that will be
difference
dealt
on
with
all
during the site plan, yes. Okay? Anyone else wishing to address council regarding the rezoning? If not, I see no one. I'll just ask if council has any questions or clarification regarding this that you'd like to bring forward. Councillor Hyatt.
Thank you, through you. Maybe related to they asked that they wanted to do this because it would reduce cost by changing the frontage. So do we have any information as to what difference the cost would be if they keep the 15-meter frontage versus the 12-meter frontage?
Through your
Mrs.
worship.
Casarosi, if you could answer that, go ahead.
Through your worship, I would like to defer that question to the applicant's consultant, who is.
Okay, yeah, come forward to the mic, please. State your name.
Hi there, I'm Peter Backer. I'm the owner of BDM Developments.
Okay.
So the difference between a 15-meter lot and a 12-meter lot, we sell them by the foot, right? So a 12-meter lot is sold X number of dollars per lineal front foot. So a 36 times that number versus a 50 times that number, you're going to have a less expensive lot to begin with.
How much is like in term, I don't know if this question's allowed in the zoning
Yeah,
meeting.
speak right into the mic. though,
The
please,
difference
Jack.
between lot and house price, like what's the relationship between those two?
So the lot house size is going to be smaller as well.
So you could build a smaller house on a
Yeah.
15-meter frontage.
So if we have a 12-meter lot, there's a number of reasons why it's more economical to service the subdivision. We can, at the same time, we're putting in, instead of doing 180 lots, we're doing 200 lots. That's just a number, right? We're adding more lots, but we're still building a street and we're just adding a water service and a sewer service to each lot. So our cost to do that is minimal, but we can add lots for the community. Because again, just like we were talking earlier, that we're trying to meet the demands of Ontario right now, what they're looking for in lot sizes to bring down the cost of properties, cost of homes.
Are you okay with that? Thank you. Just hang on. I'll see if there's any more
Yeah.
questions from council.
Go
Deputy
ahead,
Mayor.
go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Clark, go ahead.
Just for comparison, I don't know if you're building homes in any other municipalities, but
A number of them.
I've recently gone through the house purchasing process with my son in another municipality, and the lot sizes are the same.
As these 12 meters.
Most of the municipalities that we've been house shopping in,
For example,
so 12 meters is 39.4 feet.
yeah.
Most of the houses that we looked at were between 36 and 41.
We have two other developments similar to this, and one in Mount Bridges and one in Strathroy. And the lot sizes actually in Strathroy are smaller than this yet.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Deputy Mayor Field, go ahead.
Just a comment. I remember a number of years ago, I live in the neighborhood. So when the 12-meter frontage lot came up, I remember attending. There was a lot of concerns. I don't have any concerns. Most of the people here are my neighbors and are living in those homes. So I feel that, as a comment, there hasn't been an issue on 6th Street with the smaller frontages. So, I think that it would be, it would work well.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Field. Any other questions from council? Councillor Hyatt, go ahead.
Sorry, thank you, through you. So on First Ave, I think most of the houses are developed as R1. So they have like a 15-meter frontage. Is there any way that you could keep the backyard so that it would keep an R1, or the houses that would abut the backyard of the existing houses on First Ave, like you keep that R1 so that those houses align with backyards, et cetera, so you have one backyard neighbor as opposed to two? Is that something that happens?
I don't
in the
think they
planning
actually
world?
line up to begin with. So that's something we could look at, but
Yeah,
I don't,
just a
when
comment,
everybody has a
question.
fence there anyway, I'm not sure it's going to make a big difference.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions from council? If not, sorry, Councillor Hyatt, go ahead.
Sorry, one more. Sorry, through you. The provincial policy statement says that intensification is really important in terms of building new homes. When does the lot get too small that we say that intensification is too much and that the bylaw should not recommend to pass a bylaw, like what's too small of a lot?
Through your worship, if I may.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
There are policies in the official plans that guide. There's a specific number per hectare or per acre for low density versus medium density versus high density. So that would be a way to ensure that it's not overly intensified and that it's not overly dense in specific areas. So those numbers ensure that there is compatibility based on the amount of land that's available.
Thank you, Mrs. Casarosi. Deputy Mayor Field, go ahead.
Just with the comments, maybe regarding that, the government also wants us to put second and third homes on our lots as well. So I think they're quite into adding houses.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for addressing council. I'll ask one last time, anyone else wishing to address council regarding the rezoning at this time? If not, then we'll move on. We will consider this bylaw on May the 13th at our next council meeting. It will not be dealt with tonight. And I'll declare this meeting officially closed at almost 28 minutes after 6. Thank you for
And just
coming,
one more-
everyone.
Your worship, just one further. Sorry, I apologize. This is my little part of the meeting.
Oh, go ahead.
There is a form at the back that anyone who wishes to be consulted and continue to be in consultation with this process, to please leave your information on that form. Anyone who did submit in writing, I will have that available and will continue to follow up with that. But anyone else who wishes to, you must register on that to be able to be followed up with. It's not something that we're able to just send to all as a distribution list again.
Thank you, Mrs. Pearson. So please pick one up or sign on the way out. Again, I want to thank everyone for coming out tonight and have a good evening. I'll declare this officially closed.
Sorry, Brad. I just.
No, that's okay. I didn't, but that's good that you did.